Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I, like many of you, love transit, but I think a question that comes into my mind quite frequently is that why is it that in North America, even when we build good transit, our cities don't suddenly feel like the awesome urban centers of Europe and Asia? To be clear, this video was largely inspired by not only questions I asked myself, but questions other people asked me. Toronto, in particular for North America, has really good transit, and some of our suburbs like Brampton also have really good transit. There are other cities in Canada as well that have good transit. In the Toronto case, sure, the transit isn't always super fast, but you can get from anywhere in the city to basically anywhere else at any time of day, and that's pretty impressive. I mean, seriously, that's something you can't say for every great transit city in the world, and so the fact that Toronto does that is really cool. Before I continue on, it's worth mentioning that this isn't just a Canadian problem. Some US cities, yes, have pretty good transit, like New York City, for example, and even they don't have the feeling of a European or Asian metropolis, albeit I will say they are a bit closer. Of course, despite all of this, these cities which have good transit still are biased towards cars, there's parking all over the place, and you still will stick out in a crowd if you say you took a bus to get to an event. The question is, why is that? We've built great transit in some places, and yet the cities are not transforming before our eyes into transit-friendly metropolises. Why? Of course, the truth comes down to a number of different factors. Government policy, culture. These are definitely true, but I think there's one major factor that we often think about and talk about indirectly without directly acknowledging that, and I think it's what I would call the transit ecosystem. What is the transit ecosystem, you ask? Well, it's everything that makes living with transit easier that isn't actually transit. As it turns out, building your life around transit and exclusively using transit is much easier when you have a certain set of services, products, and policies available in your city. And these are really the things we need to take transit to the next level in places where it's already good, or maybe even passable. These are things like ride-hailing services and cheap mobile phone data, and bike lanes. And they're far more important to making transit the obvious choice for people to get around than you might think. As it turns out, people's mobility choices are not something that's decided in a vacuum. They're based on a number of factors, and the things that are available to someone influence their choices. So we need to make sure the right options are available to people so that we can enable more environmentally friendly and city-friendly choices. So this is my new series, The Transit Ecosystem. Each episode is going to talk about a certain element of a healthy transit ecosystem and how it makes transit an easier or better option for people. Stay tuned for the first episode in the next week, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.